heard one person really say that they're content. Like, I'm sure there are people, but it's a common issue for a lot of us, not just, millennials or Gen Zers, even people who are older than us. We're all still trying to figure it out. And I've seen people kind of do a reset when they're 40, 50.
Welcome to OC Hues, a podcast where we learn to connect through a palette of views, colors, and a diverse community of people from various ethnic backgrounds. We're highlighting meaningful Asian American voices, stories, and experiences of key community members and leaders to reclaim visibility. I'm Sam from Okapica, pronouns she, her, and hers.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. I'm from Southland, pronouns she, her, and hers.
I'm Josh from KCS, pronouns he, him, his. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and coming to the OC Hues podcast, episode 2. Woo! Today, we have our very first guest. I have personally known this individual for 4 years now through a dance team called The Good Project. Shout out Good. This individual can do it all from dancing to podcasting to producing. Please give a warm welcome to Angela Banzon.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here. My pronouns are she, her as well. So yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm excited. I mentioned earlier, this is my first time being a guest, and I'm usually on the other side hosting, but I'm really happy to be here.
Hello, welcome. Let's get right into it. Angela, where does your last name, Banzon, originate from?
I ask my family that all the time. Apparently, well, first of all, my family is from the Philippines. And so my mom and dad immigrated from the Philippines to the US and they met in the US. But I think Banzon, it originated from China, but then it somehow migrated to the Philippines. So it's kind of a mix of Chinese and Filipino or the Philippines. And so, but for me, I'm all Filipino.
Oh, Sam and I are both Filipino women as well. So what does being a Filipino American woman mean to you?
I have a lot of pride when it comes to being Filipino. I actually, when I was in school, elementary to high school, I actually was the only Asian person, or I guess like one of 3 Asian people in my school, like the entire school. And I always made it a mission to find another Filipino person because, when you connect with your own culture or like people in your culture, it kind of helps you learn more about yourself, because in your culture you have like almost like these unspoken rules or like these traditions and these things about you. And so learning from other people in the same kind of like group, it helps you understand like why I'm like this, why do I believe these things, or why do I overall, you just learn more about yourself. And so I guess the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to like being a Filipina woman is the pride and community too, because as a Filipino, the first thing I think of aside from the pride is the sense of belonging and the sense of hospitality. Because like, for example, there's this thing with the Filipino hospitality. When you go to a Filipino party, you know what to expect. You know that the aunties and the titos, the uncles, they're going to feed you and they're going to make sure that you feel welcome. So that is always something that I've been proud of in my culture. And yeah.
You mentioned that when you went to school, you're always looking for someone of like the Asian race or Asian ethnicity to relate to. It doesn't seem like you grew up in Orange County. Where did you really grow up?
So I mentioned earlier that my parents met in the US. and my dad was actually in the army. And so after they got married, my dad started, doing his thing in the army, and I was born in a military base in Oklahoma. And then from there, we moved around so many places. We moved to Louisiana, and then my brother was born at another military base. And then my brother Gage, he was born in a military base in Houston. Actually, I don't know if it was a military base, but he was born in Houston. And then I also moved to the Philippines for a year, which was an amazing experience because from there I got to learn the language, the native language, Tagalog. And I was able to really dive in deep with how the country is and the people. And I got to learn more about my family. I learned how to cuss there. I learned how, the food tasted and stuff. So after I lived there, we ended up going back to Houston. We lived there for 15 years after my dad retired from the army. And then now my family is in the OC, and then I'm in LA.
In the OC and then now in LA. What brought you to the OC? Did you go to school out here?
Yeah, I guess like there's a lot of things that brought me here. I guess we wanted a new start, and we wanted to kind of like, so my dad and my mom were divorcing, they were separating. And so my dad was still in Houston, and then my mom wanted a new start. So we decided to move to California because my mom had a lot of friends here, and she chose OC over LA just because I think my mom's friends were in the OC and we had family there. Luckily, there was a lot of Asian people there too. So I was able to experience, having more Asian friends. But yeah, I really loved OC. I went to Tustin High because I moved my senior year, like the second half of my senior year, to OC. And so I went to Tustin High, Tiller Pride. And yeah, I ended up going to school too. I went to Concord College and then also Los Angeles Pacific University. So I've been here for about 12 years now. Just crazy, time flies.
Angela, in the beginning, Josh mentioned you guys were in a dance group together, The Good Project. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Can I? What do you want to know? I'm just kidding. Yeah, Good Project. Oh, I guess that was another thing. Another reason why I wanted to go to the OC was because the dance community in the OC/LA was so big compared to how it was in Texas. In Texas, they focus more on like freestyling and stuff, which is like improv, just moving with no like structure. And then in the OC/LA, it was more of a structure, like choreographed base, and there were teams that were, formed. And so I found myself associated with a lot of different organizations, one being Common Ground, and then two would be the Good Project. Common Ground was kind of like my stepping stone. And then Good Project was when I was able to really dive deep into my skills as a choreographer, my skills as a leader in the community, my skills as just an artistic person. And I'm very grateful for that. It helped me gain a lot of friends, like some of my best friends, Josh included. And I was able to find kind of like a creative outlet, because dance is like, I don't want to say dance is my identity, but it was a big part of releasing those, inner demons or inner, I guess it just like helped me express myself. So yeah, the Good Project is a dance team, and it's adult dance team, ages ranging from 18 to like whoever wants to
35.
join. 35. And we are based in OC. And our mission is just to connect, to stay humble, stay hungry, stay connected with our community, and to just be there for each other.
Yeah,
I kind of butchered that, sorry.
no worries. I also agree in some way that being with each other as dancers and also in the Fil-Am community, being with each other is really important. And I get what you mean when you say like it's not really an identity, but it's like integrated to like a sense of like who you are, or and plus you grew up with a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
So it's a true family. And I
Yeah.
think that is like amazing for people to, you know, to go to like as a resource. Because I know on your podcast too that you said that there's like, it's not just dancing, there's also like a mental health workshop you guys had, which was like
Yeah.
amazing.
I actually want to touch on the previous thought because you mentioned, you know, the dance team that I was a part of. It is a family, and I definitely want to elaborate on that because when I was on Good, we really held on to each other because we experienced a lot of negative experiences, or like we basically experienced a loss in one of our team members. And so that year, I think that was like the first year where I was able to be vulnerable in front of people. I was able to process things with my fellow team members, because grieving, especially grieving a person in your team, is one of the hardest things because you don't know how to even approach that type of situation. And I think that helped me understand the power of community, the power of your friends. Like Josh has seen me cry, and he's been at my house just, you know, holding me and being that support that I need. And I'll never take that for granted. It like that type of support comes everywhere, you know, and I don't want people to think that you just need to join a dance team to get that type of support. You can join whatever group, like you guys too, you know, that could be an opportunity for you to be a good friend.
I want to know, and I'm sure viewers are kind of curious. So, from going to dancing and graduating, I want to delve into the workplace because after most undergrads, they go on into their careers. So, I want to talk about you as a freelance digital producer.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, first, me as a working professional has been a struggle, I will say, because I I feel like I've been successful in all aspects of my life. One being like my friendships. I'm very, very grateful, like I said, to have the friendships that I do. I'm very grateful for my partner, Gilbert, who I've been with for about 5 years now. And I'm grateful for my family. But the only thing that I've been kind of, I guess, not proud of is my professional career. And that's not to say that it's me failing. It's just I'm I'm not at the point where I want to be. I'm not at that level, you know. And so I've done so many jobs, and I've been an I've been an accounting specialist. I've been an assistant. I've been a social media manager. Right now, I'm doing digital producing. I'm trying to learn web design. And I hate whenever people ask me, like, oh, what do you do for a living? Because I try to separate who I am from, you know, the work that I do. Even though the work that I do consumes majority of my life, it's about 8 hours a day. I think it's really important for me to like separate those things. And that's why I decided not to pursue dance as a career, because I wanted to, you know, just be separate. I'll go to dance whenever I feel stressed with work, or I'll go to whatever. My career, I don't think I've heard one person really say that they're content. Like, I'm sure there are people, but it's a common issue for a lot of us, not just, millennials or Gen Zers, even people who are older than us. We're all still trying to figure it out. And I've seen people kind of do a reset when they're 40, 50. People are graduating college at like 60. And so I guess the message what I want to say is we're all just trying to figure it out. There's no real end destination. And this is a reminder for myself, there's no end destination. You're just trying to grow and grow and grow. And for me, even though I'm a digital producer right now, this is just a stop. I'm trying to learn web design because I want to make sure, like, what if this is what I want to do? I want to learn coding. Maybe that's what I want to do. So it's like it's a never ending road. And I am happy with where I am as a freelancer, but I don't see myself here forever.
I think that you're right that so for your field, it's like you have a multitude of skills that you really need to develop. And I think that is important because not only you developing your skills, you are looking into different aspects and exploring these other fields, like you said, like coding. And I know UI, UX, right, is really big now because one is it's easy to learn because there's so many resources, like there's Google, I think it's like a Google certificate, or there's even YouTube to try to learn how to code and do like simple languages. And it takes a lot to explore. And that's probably why you feel not content, because there's so much you don't know. So
especially being a creative, I feel like my attention goes everywhere and I'm always just like inspired by one thing, I'm inspired by another thing, and so I want to put my hands in everything. And I guess that's where it comes down to, like, wanting to be curious all the time and wanting to learn all the time. And I don't think that's a necessarily bad thing. It just is what it is.
I want to go and backtrack real quick for viewers to kind of understand, how did you end up leaving that corporate system to be your own boss?
I had a very unfortunate situation happen. Not necessarily like me being fired or anything like that. I actually chose to quit because of the hostility of the work environment. And I'm very open about it because I think it's really important for people to learn from it and for people to kind of normalize it, because I've experienced like this underlying issue with all my jobs, not just a specific one. And it was just like imbalance of power. There was just like issues with ego. There was just lack of accountability. And so it got to a point where because another layer to this is that I'm a pushover. I am a people pleaser. I will do anything for you just so that you can be happy. But unfortunately, people will take advantage of that. And I found myself in a situation where I was taking in a lot of not just work, but also just emotional baggage. And it got to the point where any little small thing becomes a big blow up. And so there was a situation where at a meeting, I was at the meeting, like physically at the meeting, and one of my bosses didn't know where it was. Obviously, I'm trying to give her directions, but then she gets really frustrated and then starts cussing at me because she's used to taking out her anger on me. And I'm like such a nice person. I feel like I will do anything and I will forgive you. But that's when I start to that was like that moment I realized this is not what I deserve. And this is not how you treat people. This is not how I would treat somebody. So I quit. And it was really, really scary because of the dependency I had on that job. But at the same time, finances, like I'm gonna figure it out. Like I'm gonna be okay. But I'm not going to put myself in a situation that caused me panic attacks, caused me so much like resentment, and I wasn't being treated fairly. And so I noticed that every time I left the job, it was because of me not being strong enough. And it's more so like people are willing to take advantage and be that way to me because I allowed them. Um, but yeah, now I am freelancing, which has been a great option for me as someone who likes to be free and likes to, and I'm also trying to work on my mental health. And so that gave me room to work on the things that truly matter to me, and then spending time with my family and spending time with my dog and all those things. So big shift, and it was a big adjustment, but I say it's like well worth it.
I think you're right with workplace culture and setting boundaries. Tiff, Josh, if you've ever also experienced that at previous jobs, I think that is a big problem. And I don't know if it has to do with the company, but I think it's based on who our leaders are. I think that's the biggest thing, because they are going to be the role models of the company. But I wouldn't say that it always has to be on our shoulders to be taken advantage of, right? Because as employees or employers, it's always hard to draw the line. So I don't know if you guys have also felt that, or at previous jobs too.
For sure, I have. I think even now, and looking back, listening to Angela's work experiences, I've had some really bad ones too. A lot of boundaries were really fuzzy. And yeah, I did allow that. But when you're learning a new system, it's a little hard to understand where you're at or when to say no, when to say yes. And being able to set those boundaries in the beginning is always beneficial. I guess for me now, it's a little too late, not gonna lie, but it's okay. I think as a like that weight of being in control really drives me to be a leader within like my work group, like the people that I see in the workplace. I can tell I definitely have some sort of effect, no matter how big or small that may be. But it's something. It's like a catalyst for change. So why not be that for these people and for myself?
Mhm.
Tiff, how you feel about that?
I was actually really relating to Angela when she was saying she's like a people pleaser. I still struggle with that. I bend over backwards when it comes to work. I think I relate work ethic with the time I put in, whether that mean working overtime or working on my own time, working on weekends. I'm still trying to find the balance, just because I know this is where I want to be and I'm working towards where I want to go. And so I think I'm hoping in the years to come or even sooner that I learn that balance and don't have to go through the same struggles that you did, Angela.
Yeah, definitely. And I think right now too, with everyone becoming more remote, I find that really hard, although it is very convenient. But I do find that working remote, I'm willing to go more and I'm willing to bend my back because there's no like breaks, and there's almost like you're available 24/7 because your computer is at home and you have the option to just like log on at any time. And so that I think is underrated, or I guess not underrated, but like an issue that isn't talked about often, like really setting boundaries with yourself too. Because yeah, like people, you can set boundaries for other people, but you're also in control of your own actions and your own thoughts. And I don't find it very helpful or like healthy for you to constantly, even just like, because I catch myself thinking about work 24/7, and you really have to just like snap yourself out of it.
Touching on a topic where we actually doesn't get spoken about much, mental health. We know that you speak about it on your podcast a lot. And so you're experienced in it. So what are some ways you've maintained and improved your own mental health?
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, I'm very, very proud of my progress so far. with mental health. I've struggled with depression pretty much my entire life because, I don't know why, but I guess my trauma from my childhood and like teenage years, and then even now my adult years. And I've always kind of like pushed it to the side, which ended up not resolving. So it's unresolved trauma that built up. And just this last month in December, I kind of hit a wall. And my boyfriend, he said, you can't hold conversations anymore. Like, you're forgetting everything I'm telling you. And I was really like, that was my turning point, because I didn't realize how much it affected me on a daily and how much it was affecting my relationships. And so he kind of like encouraged me to seek help. And so I scheduled a therapist appointment and we did a consultation. And in the consultation, you kind of like give them a range of like how you're feeling. And it's just a brief like analysis. And the first couple of questions, I just started crying. And I was like, why am I crying? And then I guess I just realized you're holding in so much, but you never give you don't give yourself the permission to process or just let go. And at that time, my therapist, he said I was in crisis mode, and we ended up doing a crazy treatment plan. I ended up committing about 12 hours of therapy, including group therapy and individual therapy, for that entire month. And then I started medication, and I didn't realize how much I was struggling with. I have anxiety, generalized anxiety. I have major depressive disorder. I have like this social, like whenever I go to social buildings, or like whenever I go to a restaurant, I sometimes feel like the building closing in on me. So I feel claustrophobic. I have PTSD. So I had all these things, and like, I don't want to put that label on me, but they're just like my injuries, essentially. Like, my brain is injured. And honestly, that month was the hardest week. That month was the hardest month of my entire life, because you're facing all those demons, right? And there's no way to get better than through it. You have to really get through and tackle all those things, because if you continue avoiding it, you're still going to build it up. And I cried pretty much like every day. And there are days where I didn't know why I was crying, and I didn't know why I was having all these panic attacks. Like, I went to the movies and I watched Spider-Man with 20 of my friends, and the entire 2.5 hours, I was having a panic attack. Like, I started sweating a lot. I started like getting really cold. I started breathing like really hard. I couldn't catch my breath. I started gagging. Like, that's how I felt when I have panic attacks. And yeah, like, that's not a way to live. So now I'm definitely at a better place, especially with like the medication that I'm taking and the individual therapy. But I can't stress enough how important it is to pay attention to how your body's reacting. Like, if you're having like these types of reactions physically, like for example, a panic attack, your body is holding on to something and it's trying to release it in some way, and it's trying to protect you. My therapist always says, just remember, like, you're working with an injured brain. Don't rush the healing process. This injury isn't visible to the human eye, but it doesn't mean that it's less than a broken leg. Like, a person with a broken leg can't run. So don't expect your brain to run normally.
That's really cool. And we're really thankful that you feel comfortable enough sharing this with us and all the trauma you've been through. So it seems like the stigma with mental health has always been kind of negative, especially in the older generation. And it's only becoming more common in our generation. There's a lot of stigma about it. Is there anything along your journey with therapy that has been debunked about mental health?
Yeah, I guess when I first talked to my friend, she's a therapist. Her name is Shimmy or Michelle Shim. I came to her because I was experiencing all those symptoms, right? Like I was just not in a good place. And she pushed me to get therapy. But I kind of told her, like, I'm scared because I don't want them to think I'm crazy. I don't want them to put me in a mental institute. I don't want to, be dependent on medication. I don't want to do these things. I just want to be better. And she told me, you have the choice to do all these things. You have the choice to go to an institute. You have the choice to take meds. You have the choice to even go to therapy. But, you know, how do you know what you need? So that kind of just like helped alleviate all those stressors that the pressure to, I guess, like the things that we see on media. It kind of just like helped me put away those thoughts. And when I did get the courage to go to therapy, I didn't realize that having a person there just listening to your thoughts is so helpful. Like, even if you're not going through anything, being able to talk about you for 1 hour is so beneficial to your own self growth. And obviously, I chose to do all those treatments, but even individual therapy alone, I've learned how to reassess my daily routines. I learned how to self-care. I've learned how to stop those intrusive thoughts. And when I told my mom, actually, because another big stigma is like that whole medication, like being dependent on it and getting addicted to it. I told my mom, like, hey, like, I'm I'm going to a therapist. We might do all these things and I might be taking medication. And the first thing she said was, no, like, don't do drugs, blah, blah, blah. Because my family, my dad was addicted to drugs and he did like hard drugs. And so my mom's kind of was like, she's traumatized from that situation. She doesn't want me to go into that road. But I took some time to really understand what was being prescribed to me. And I'm being prescribed antidepressant medication. And those things don't have any type of dependency. Like, you can get off it and you'll be fine. And it doesn't, like, it's not addictive. So definitely, like, reading that, and it doesn't have a lot of, like, side effects in terms of, compared to other harder drugs. And so I also started realizing like the positives of it too, and how life-changing it can be. And it's either, you know, live in a world where I'm struggling or get better. And I chose to go for the getting better road in that path.
Thank you for sharing, Angela. I think
Mhm.
that was
Of course.
really, really powerful for you to be that vulnerable to us in this space. We hear you. Thank you. That's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Oh my God. Like, I know it's really, at least for me personally, these aren't some things that I experience directly, but the people around me, I see it, and
Mhm.
it's nice to hear from someone that truly experiences that, sought help,
Mhm.
kind of diminished that stigma around it,
Mhm.
did your own research, you had your own resources, and you got that treatment plan that you were looking for. And that's
Mhm.
super, super, it's a little beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, like, if it wasn't for my friends like you, Josh, like, I definitely don't think I would be in a better place. So again, like, I bring it back to the community and my friends because I don't take that for granted at all.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, we're always here for you. We've always been. But as far as like the whole family thing, I think people have different, or I had a different experience with mental health because my mom doesn't believe it exists. She's like, oh, you're just kind of like sad today. But then recently, after addressing a lot of the trauma we went through when I was younger, she opened up and I was like just asking really simple questions and she couldn't even answer. I was like, so how are you? Like, how have you been feeling? She's like, oh, I'm good. But are you really good? Because I heard, you were crying the other day. So how are you feeling? Like what's going on through your head? Like where are you at?
Mhm.
Things like that, those follow-up questions. And she was just like, oh, I'm really sad. I don't feel as much love as I want.
Mhm.
And whoo, and not to
Oh,
go, but yeah, it was super hard because it's like I'm here, they're up in Oregon, and I can't do much other than do what I can through the phone or text. So, I'll give her a call once a week and just do check-ins and, remind her and reaffirm her that she is loved, that she is her own individual now. Like, yes, she had the role of a parent, but I think she didn't realize she was still a person. Like, you got
yeah.
to still live your life, find your happiness wherever that may be. And I'll do my best to support you and try to help you. And let's ride this wave and get
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, like I want to touch on that because I have the same thing with my family too. I've noticed that my family they don't give themselves the permission to feel something, and they don't ask for help, and they're not honest with
Mm,
themselves. And so like when I told my mom, like, and I told her the reason why I was seeking help, uh she was just like, you need to stop feeling bad for yourself. You need to just like stop feeling sad. Just think about happy thoughts. Be optimistic. Like, okay, but like I I've tried. It's not like I'm purposely making myself sad, and I'm not purposely trying to, hurt myself. I just, I don't know what else to do.
mm,
And so like I wonder why people like my family, why they don't do that. What caused them to feel that way? And maybe it is because my family immigrated from the Philippines and they don't feel like they have the time to think about themselves. They don't have the time to think about their own problems. They're just trying to survive. So maybe that's it, but feel free to chime in and let
Yeah.
me know.
I think you might be right in the way that I know the Philippines, like a lot of Asian, right, countries, they're very collectivist. So, it's always about the greater good. But for
Mhm.
us in the Americas, it's like the individualistic culture. We take time for ourselves because we know that that's something that we prioritize.
Mhm.
And I don't know whether if maybe it's also a perception thing, right? Because you always hear like it's a cultural thing. We don't talk about it, then we don't know what it is. And we can't get educated if we don't really talk about it in the first place. And I think maybe it could be there too. Most of the time, I think a lot of us are like very like high functioning or,
Mhm.
so we don't take the time to just sit down. You know how journaling has been like super good at like just writing how you feel, what you're grateful for, and taking that small amount of time to process things in that way rather than going through a routine each day where it's like very mundane tasks where it's wake up, shower, breakfast, work, dinner,
Mhm.
home. So I think once we get to that breaking point where it's like so much stress in our life, so much stress at work, with our families, with our loved ones, with friends, like at that point, that's when I think for us, that's when we're like, we can recognize that there is something wrong with us rather than going ahead and, preventing that in the first place, which would be like the therapy sessions or just like sitting down and chatting with someone and just hashing it out. So yeah, I think there's so many factors to it. And I don't know if it's also a pandemic, like, phenomenon, because I feel like a lot of people either like going through like just changes in work, changes in relationship, or like changes in like housing too. So I think maybe that is a big one for 2022.
Mhm.
um, so hopefully, I don't know when we're getting out of this
I don't know either.
pandemic.
Yeah,
we're
like in
never
the
getting
yeah, we're never getting out. No, like during the whole like lockdown, I've noticed a lot of people started waking up. I started noticing people were starting to, and it's because you're alone in your thoughts. And I don't know, this whole pandemic is a whole nother issue. I don't even know where to start, but yeah, I agree with everything you just said.
Mm, yeah, the pandemic was not cool, and it's still going on, and I'm still not okay. So where are
Yeah.
we at? We're at square one
I
still.
know.
But I think for me, the biggest thing that kind of messed me up was just being inside all day, having that burden that I got to do my part and save the world, but at the cost of my mental health, being inside, doing nothing, but maybe like eating,
Sleeping.
sleeping.
Yeah.
I definitely stopped dancing. I just
Yeah.
drank
Yeah, because we weren't used to this.
legally. But yeah, I think just that isolation was tough, and I'm sure it was a similar experience for other people, but I know everyone handled it a lot differently.
Yeah, and us as humans, we strive in a community social setting. We're not made to be alone. We're not made to just like, yeah, be alone and isolated. So that took a crazy toll on me because I consider myself an introvert, but I do like being around people. But again, like I always bring it back to this community thing because it's so important. And during the pandemic, we all started realizing the importance of it.
Well, on the topic of mental health, we know you're a great advocate. We know that you also have a platform to spread your advocacy. We know
Do
the
I?
podcast. Oh yeah, we know you have a podcast called Off the Clock Coffee. Can you please explain to our viewers slash listeners what Off the Clock Coffee is?
Off the Clock Coffee is a podcast with me and my best friend Brianna, aka Bri Bowie. And honestly, the premise of it is it's as if you just got off work, you're off the clock and you're going to go to a coffee shop and you're just going to catch up with your friends. And that's essentially what we do after work. After work every Thursday, we'll hop on here and talk about whatever we were thinking about that day. And honestly, I use it as a form of therapy. It's a form of just like releasing, expressing myself through my words because I don't do that enough. And I get to just focus on that day and what I'm thinking. And Brie and I kind of just bounce ideas and we dive into topics that we normally don't talk about on a daily. And it's kind of like hard to bring up when you just like are hanging out. So it's very intentional with the conversations that we have. But we just finished season 2 and I don't know when we'll have season 3, but yeah, we have an Instagram called Off the Clock Coffee and we're kind of are active on there, but kind of on a break. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing. We know you said Off the Clock Coffee is just a little break time after work, grabbing a drink with your friends. Why'd you decide to do it? What made you take that leap? What gave you that push?
Well, for me, I've always wanted to do a YouTube channel. I wanted to create content. I've always been that type of person. Again, I'm a creative, so I want to create things. But then I get really intimidated by the amount of success other people have had. And I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be another channel out there that has one video and then be done with it. And so I realized that, I probably need an accountability partner. And I was just thinking about, obviously, Bree. She was my only person that I wanted to do this podcast with, or just like a passion project. So I was thinking about her and I realized what better way to have, I guess, like to create than to be on a podcast. And why don't we just talk? Why don't we just like, because even in this episode, I've been talking so much. I just have so many thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And podcasts, I think, is a lot easier and more sustainable and more like it doesn't require a lot of maintenance, I think, versus a video, like you have to have, your thumbnail, you have to have all these things, you have to do the shooting, got to get ready. Podcast is just your voice. It's just your thoughts. It's really, really authentic. And one day I was like, Bri, do you want to do it? And she's like, oh, sure. Next day we do it. And then from there, we were like, you know what? We should just continue doing this. And so we ended up doing it for a year. And it's, again, like the priority is us having fun versus it being a job. And I don't want any type of work, commitment, whatever, to get in the way with that. Like, I don't want to make it into a job essentially, but it's been a great journey.
Dang. I don't even know, because it's like I'm trying to process it, because we started this as a passion project too, even though it was for work. We really wanted to keep our intentions pure and really genuine, because we want to highlight people that are important to us in our community that may not realize how important they are. A lot of people, we see people that are famous, but you don't realize there's a lot of cool people around you that are doing really great things. And with that greatness comes great responsibility. So right now, you're going to do a plug. What can we expect to see from the podcast? Anything to look out for coming from you?
Honestly, everything is really unpredictable. I don't really plan ahead, me and Bri at least. We don't plan ahead. We just do it as we go. And I find that that's the easiest way. It's less pressure. It's less, commitment. Just do it on the fly. And that's how the podcast started. So if there is anything happening, you'll see on the Instagram. So follow us at Off the Clock Coffee. But yeah.
All right. So thank you, Angela, for sharing the deepest parts of your soul. So we're going to lighten things up now. We're going to play some quick fire, which is this or that questions to try your best not to take a neutral ground.
Oh, no.
The order will be Josh, then Sam, then Angela, then me. Okay. We ready?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the first one is growth or security?
Growth.
Growth.
I'll take growth as well. All right. Number 2, sandals or sneakers?
Sneakers.
Okay, sneakers for sure.
Sneakers.
Wow, we're all the same. Number 3, smartest person in the world or richest person in the world?
Oh.
Smartest person in the world.
Okay. Okay, smartest in the world. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say smartest because they can still be rich. They're just not the richest.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, cardio or weights?
Weights.
Oof. Okay, I'll say cardio because I like listening to podcasts.
I want to say weights, but I will have to say cardio because I get to dance. And so it'll be easy for me.
5, rather be able to only shout or whisper?
I would say shout.
I don't know. The whisper, I don't know about whisper. I'll say shout.
I would shout too. I do it already.
I'm going to go with whisper because I feel like there's enhancements that you could do for that, like a mic or something.
ASMR.
6, work independently or work in a team?
Work in a team.
Work independently.
I can do both, but I love a team.
I'm with a team on this one. Number 7, this one's funny. Go bald forever or never cut your hair?
I would go bald forever.
I already have long hair, so never cut your hair.
Never cut your hair.
Never cut my hair. My hair is amazing. Number 8, what is more important, mental health or physical health?
mental health.
Long run mental health.
Mental health.
Next one. Are you guys dog people or cat people?
Dog people.
Only had dogs, so dog people. Oh, yeah, dogs.
Dog. I love cats, but I have a dog.
I hate cats. Cats are like demonic to me. So dogs
Yeah.
all the
Okay.
way. Okay, next one. Iced coffee or hot coffee?
Iced coffee.
I don't drink coffee, but iced coffee.
Iced coffee.
Iced coffee as well. And number 11, winning the lottery or finding your soulmate?
It's a toughie. I would find my soulmate.
Win the lottery.
Find my soulmate because that is winning the lottery.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yep.
I'm gonna go with the same one, finding your soulmate. And last one, what does your perfect day look like?
Not working. Wake up early. Go for a walk. Go to the gym. Take a nap, and then I'll cook something really good and play games. Some light.
Yeah, I think I agree. Wake up early. Fix my bed. Go to the beach. Yeah, go to the beach. Try to hike the whole like boardwalk and then eat sushi. Hang out with friends. Have shabu shabu. And then at the very end, we listen to music and we dance until tomorrow.
That sounds like a great day. For me, I would wake up early, and then first thing I would do is go to the gym, and I'll shower. And I hate how my perfect day includes work, but I would say work. I mean, specifically working on passion projects. And then I'll go to walk my dog. After, I guess I will watch a movie or a show. And most recently I've been watching Euphoria, so I'll probably watch Euphoria. And then eating quarters, Korean barbecue, and sleeping late.
All right, so
Maximize
my
your
perfect
day.
day, I would sleep in. I love sleeping. Get up, go to the beach with my family or friends. Probably have a bonfire, eat soup, maybe like pho, maybe homemade pho by my dad. And then just stay out all day. And then, yeah, pretty simple, perfect day.
And for our last segment, we are going to do Hues-Go, which is a play off of bingo.
Okay.
Clearly, we will all share a game card, and the goal of the game is to get 4 in a row. The questions will be from 4 categories: hearing, unifying, empowering, and seeing, also known as hues, with some random fun ones here and there. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I ain't ready for none of this.
Not either.
Oh, this makes sense. Okay.
So it's a bingo game. Like we said, it's Hues-Go. Are we ready?
What's the order, Josh?
Order is going to be Tiff, Angela, then Sam. First one, 14. If you had a chance to discuss a social issue with world leaders, what social issue would it be?
I think access to healthcare. I think it's crucial, especially in our current times where it doesn't seem like the pandemic is improving and our communities are continuing to suffer. So access to healthcare.
Great answer.
Good answer. Good
Good
answer.
answer.
Next question is for you, Angela.
Okay.
Number 16. What areas can the API community grow?
Oh gosh, a lot of pressure here. I would love to see more activism, I guess. Like maybe it's because I guess more activism in the mainstream media, just because I think we're starting to get there, especially with Stop Asian Hate, but it's not as strong as it can be. And so I would love to see that aspect grow. And it's not to say that it's not there. It's just, I would love for it to go mainstream.
I agree. To those doing performative justice, that ain't it. Next question, number 9 for Sam. Who is someone that inspires you and why?
Ooh, okay. I think currently someone that inspires me, it is someone in mainstream media. Lalisa from Blackpink. She seems like a really good friend, super good at dancing, great performance, very powerful woman. And I think she's not afraid to represent her homeland of Thailand. She does it in her music videos. So I think that she's so young and she has so much potential to inspire others to be their own boss as well.
Good answer. Good answer. Next question for Tiff. What are the biggest struggles of being seen? Access to media? Resources? ?
I think both of those, but probably finding and accessing a platform. Without it, it's really hard to be seen, especially with how much is going on in our world. So I think if you could find a platform and access it and use it to your advantage, it'll be a good start.
Thank you. And that's why we got podcasts, y'all. Look us up. Number 13 for Angela. What empowers you to continue to advocate for the API community?
I think it's the sense of belonging, I would say. And, because when I mentioned the story of finding that person that was Asian in my school, that gave me so much hope that there is someone like me, and just being able to see and feel like I belonged somewhere and I was able to learn more about myself. So obviously that is more of a personal thing. And then also just for my family, for my friends, I want the best for them. I mean, there's like a whole list, but I think that those are like the two big ones that come to mind right now.
For sure. Community, huge. Number 1 for Sam. What is your favorite part about yourself?
Oh gosh.
Question mark?
I think I'm a good listener. So yeah.
Yes, you are.
Oh, thanks, Angela.
I mean, I guess. Just kidding. 15. What is something about the API community that you're grateful for?
I think I'm grateful for our resilience and then our will to just keep pushing on and keep pushing forward.
Yo, that was a great answer. I like that.
Thank you.
Number 2. What is your biggest pet peeve, Angela?
I think when people aren't considerate with time, not like this, but like in general, like with people who, when we're walking down the street and people like just don't realize that you're there, they kind of just like, they're doing their own thing. They're just not considerate of your space, those things. And then when people are late.
Yeah. Next question, Sam. 3. What's your favorite childhood memory?
Okay. Favorite, I think one that stands out to me is there is I don't know what happened, but I was at least 9 and I thought it was a good idea to put my dog on our brick fence. And as soon as I did that, he just booked it. I did not know where he was going. And all of our backyards are like connected to the neighbors. So I ran all the way three houses, and I knocked on the door, and that at that party, like there was a house, they were having a party, and I was 9 and I knocked on the door. I said, and I couldn't even explain what was happening. I just pointed at their backyard. I said, my dog's in there. And I just ran in there. I ran to the back. I picked my dog up and I just ran out of the house. So, And that's a pretty good memory for me. It's really vivid. I still see like cats walking up and down that fence. So yeah.
That's funny.
That is scary. Going up to someone's house, hey, so, my dog's in there, and you run through the crib, and you're like, thanks, anyways, bye.
That's funny. You have courage.
For real. Number 8. What is your spirit animal?
I was hoping I didn't get this one, but I did. I'm gonna go with dolphin because they're clever, empathetic, and they're fun-loving.
I guess it's kind of cool. And that is Hues-Go.
Yay!
I'm gonna stop sharing, and thank you everyone for joining us for episode 2 with the lovely Angela Banzon.
Thank you
Check
for
us
having
out.
me.
Yeah, follow her at Off the Clock Coffee, Instagram, Spotify, YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Her Instagram is
At Angela_Banzon, Banzon.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us episode. Our upcoming episodes will have colorful conversations, discussions about the AAPI experience coming from AAPI members and leaders. If you like this episode, listen to our upcoming podcast episodes on Spotify and YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at OC_Hues. Thank you.